instead of the clean, totally nonpartisan CR that you yourself voted for just 7 months ago. The whole charade is obvious. And I also want to point out the irony that is.
Today marks 36 years since the Loma Prieta earthquake devastated the Bay Area. Coming up here on The 4 this afternoon, the local experts using this anniversary to sound the alarm about how the government shutdown could affect earthquake preparedness.
Large crowds expected throughout the Bay Area as demonstrators gather for No King's Day to protest decisions from the Trump administration.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is The 4.
And tens of thousands of people are expected to take part in dozens of different No Kings protests across the Bay Area tomorrow, voicing their opposition to the policies of the Trump administration. Welcome, everyone, to The 4 this afternoon. I'm Alex Savage.
And I'm Heather Holmes. Our Christian Captain live now in San Francisco at Civic Center Plaza, where preparation for that large-scale protest already underway. Christian.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look behind me, you can see that the stage is literally set for that No Kings protest set for tomorrow. Organizers say it's going to amount to the largest peaceful protest in the country's history. The city, though, already preparing for that demonstration. In San Francisco's Civic Center Plaza, adjacent to City Hall, preparations for the No Kings protest set for Saturday are already in place, including a stage and barricades. Organizers say it's part of a nationwide network of protests against the Trump administration.
So we're talking millions of people on the streets and tens of thousands here on the streets in the Bay Area. These are going to be fully peaceful protests. We're all here to raise our voices and to show our discontent with the administration and to do so peacefully.
The last No Kings protest in June in response to President Trump's military parade and birthday celebration drew tens of thousands here in the Bay Area, and organizers estimate about 3 million across the country. The demonstration is expected to get underway at around 2 p.m. and will likely see roads around San Francisco blocked as protesters wind their way through the streets. San Francisco police say there were no arrests made as a direct result of the June protests, but they are staffing for this weekend and preparing for anything.
The SFPD honors everyone's right to protest, and we will facilitate peaceful demonstrations. But we will hold people who break the law accountable. We've been in contact with the event organizers, and we will work to ensure everyone is safe.
This latest No Kings protest comes amidst threats by the Trump administration to bring National Guard troops into San Francisco. Law enforcement leaders said there is no need for National Guard troops in the city, and Mayor Daniel Lurie has said the city has already worked hard and seen a significant reduction in crime across the board. The mayor said law enforcement will be fully staffed, including a platoon of highway patrol officers, all on hand to facilitate free speech this weekend. But the mayor said the city won't tolerate destruction of property or any violence. When it comes to major events, he said the city is already working collaboratively with law enforcement partners.
We are working closely with the appropriate state and federal enforcement agencies every day to keep our city safe, and that coordination is delivering results for San Francisco.
And while these are national protests, the demonstrations here in the Bay Area and across the state will lean heavily into urging California voters to support Proposition 50 to temporarily redistrict California to counter gerrymandering efforts in other states that support Republicans. We're live here in San Francisco. Christian Captain, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
All right, Christian, thank you. And of course, demonstrations also planned in Oakland, San Jose, and cities all across the Bay Area tomorrow. So we'll be closely following that.
Back here in the Bay Area, Oakland was the host of a conference of mayors today with one goal in mind, and that is preventing gun violence.
Our crime reporter Henry Lee joining us now live from the newsroom after hearing from city leaders who were a part of this event today. Henry?
Alex and Heather, these mayors, along with Brady, the gun control advocacy group, say they want to stem the flow of illegal guns on their streets. Their goal, to hold the gun industry accountable.
Guns know no boundaries.
Oakland Mayor Barbara Lee hosted a group of Bay Area mayors and the head of Brady, the gun control advocacy group, on Friday. They announced a new regional approach to preventing gun violence, going after gun dealers.
This has got to stop. We've got to get the weapons of war off the streets of America, and we have to make sure that we work together.
Let's focus on the supply side.
Brady President Chris Brown says irresponsible gun dealers sell to straw purchasers, weapons traffickers, often off the books.
Here in California, it's 10% of the dealers that are responsible for 50% of the guns recovered in crime.
For decades now, a law passed with the support of the gun lobby has blocked the ATF from disclosing crime gun trace data. But Brady and Bay Area cities want to use local and state data to help identify problem gun dealers.
It's going to take regional partnerships like this to identify public policies and budget investments.
Our boundaries do not bound the guns that come in and out of our communities, and so working together, exchanging information, resources, but mostly just uniting together.
Vallejo Mayor Andrea Soares spoke of the 4-year-old girl who was shot while caught in a gun battle in the city's Crest neighborhood in January.
We have seen, just as many of our other cities in the Bay Area, we have seen the impacts of gun violence on our young people across generations in our neighborhoods, and it is very much a public health crisis. We need to be collaborating so that we don't have to have children experience this type of violence in our city.
We need to make sure that they are penalized for making our streets less safe.
Richmond Mayor Eduardo Martinez says his officers have been researching the supply side of gun violence.
In Richmond, we've had the police department start identifying the weapons and sourcing them, just so that we have an idea of where they're coming from.
Now, these mayors say they will report back on strategies they've hashed out at today's conference. Live at the newsroom, Henry Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Yeah, an important issue that really so many counties and cities are struggling with. Henry, thank you.
All right, let's turn now and talk about our weather here in the Bay Area as we head toward the weekend. This is a live look at downtown San Francisco, clear skies and a nice afternoon. It was a sort of a chilly start, I think, for some folks around the Bay Area. For me, it was kind of crisp when I stepped outside this morning, but things warming up nicely here, and it sounds like we're going to have a beautiful weekend here if folks are heading out, maybe to a pumpkin patch this weekend.
Oh, yeah, they're going to need the sunblock, Alex.
All right.
It's going to be mild to warm out there. In fact, this afternoon, as expected, temperatures are notably warmer compared to yesterday. This after the cool start to the day. A live look over the South Bay where we have plenty of blue sky. And if you are thinking about heading to the beach this weekend, because yes, it is going to be that nice, something to be aware of. It begins at 8 o'clock this evening. It will go until tomorrow evening. It includes the entire coastline from the North Bay down into Santa Cruz. An alert for the risk of rip currents as well as sneaker waves increasing tonight into tomorrow night. A little bit of a northerly flow out there, and that offshore flow helping to warm things up. Let's take a look at just how much warmer we are. Up by 8 degrees SFO compared to yesterday, as well as in the North Bay of Santa Rosa. Concord up by 6, where we are enjoying a lot of 70s across the region. 72 degrees right now for San Francisco, even 80 reported Santa Rosa. Mid-70s in Livermore as well as Walnut Creek. Taking a bit of a tour, upper 70s in Windsor, upper 70s Occidental. We've got 80 degrees reported in Petaluma. For our peninsula folks, Redwood City in the upper 70s, Woodside and Menlo Park doing the same. And for the inner East Bay, Castro Valley hitting 80 degrees this afternoon, a beautiful 76 in Orinda. Getting into your Bay Area weekend, we do expect mostly clear skies. Here's a look at tonight into tomorrow morning. A little bit of patchy fog along the coastline just inside the bay. Outside of that, we're going to have plenty of sunshine, and temperatures are going to remain above average. A better look at those temps for tomorrow, the rest of the weekend, and your extended forecast coming up.
All right. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Well, the state taking action today against plastic bag manufacturers selling bags that are not made of non-recyclable plastic. Attorney General Rob Bonta announcing a settlement with 4 producers who provided millions of bags used by California retailers. Under state law, they are supposed to be made of recyclable materials to reduce plastic waste. The investigation, though, found they were not. Bonta says disposal of the bags leads to more plastic pollution, including microplastics that get into the human body.
We have to think about the costs to the environment, to our future, to our climate, to our planet, that plastic bags that are not recyclable have been creating as they choke us in our waterways and our oceans and our streams and in the environment.
4 producers will pay a total of nearly $1.8 million in penalties, fees, and costs. The state is suing 3 other producers for alleged violations of the law. Starting in January, California will ban the thicker plastic bags used in grocery stores. Only recyclable paper bags will be allowed.
The city of Oakland says it's all hands on deck when it comes to cleaning up the streets. Today, Mayor Barbara Lee and city officials announced an expansion of weekend staffing for the Department of Public Works. Mayor Lee said the city is also investing in enforcement using cameras to track illegal dumpers. Officials say the weekends have previously been operating with lighter staffing, focusing only on high priority sites.
We're doing this without spending additional taxpayer dollars. This expansion is funded through labor savings from vacant positions in our public works budget. It reflects where there's a will, there's a way.
The mayor says the city has already hauled away over 30 tons of waste and cleared 50 miles of streets. The city says this fall it's adding monthly business corridor cleanups and offering free bulky waste removal that can be booked online.
Well, coming up next right here on The Four, people all across the Bay Area remembering the lives lost and also the devastation during the Loma Prieta earthquake, which happened 36 years ago today.
And coming up this afternoon, the local experts raising concerns about earthquake preparedness during the government shutdown.
Well, today marks the 36th anniversary of the Loma Prieta earthquake. And today we are hearing from a retired USGS scientist who was working on that day of the 6.9 magnitude quake.
KTVU's Janet Kansiyama joins us now live with more on his memories from that day and his concerns this year about the government shutdown and how it might affect the USGS earthquake science program both now and in the future. Jana?
Alex and Heather, people who were here for Loma Prieta remember the amazing and stunning devastation, including to the bridges, such as the Bay Bridge behind me, that had to be rebuilt. This is one of these years when there's been a lot of reflection, and I did speak to a retired USGS scientist who talks about that day and also his concerns about how the government shutdown might be impacting the science that USGS uses to help the public.
Second base, so the Oakland A's take.
Bay Area residents still remember the shock of the deadly 6.9 magnitude Loma Prieta earthquake, October 17th, 1989.
The room started shaking.
Steve Walter was a young scientist with the USGS Earthquake Research Center in Menlo Park.
We looked up and there was a crack forming in the wall above us. And so, okay, time to do something. So we got up, ran to the doorway.
Walter says now, 36 years later, research by USGS earthquake scientists has helped the public better understand the Bay Area's risks.
Loma Prieta had 7,200 aftershocks. All of these blue dots here are Loma Prieta earthquakes. We call them mostly aftershocks. The big dot in the middle there is the main shock.
Walter says on this year's anniversary of the Loma Prieta, what worries him is the impact the government shutdown is having on the USGS earthquake science program.
It's not just furloughs, but there have been layoffs too. We're losing the future seismologists and scientists who continue the research and extend it further.
Walter says funding cuts can impact not just the early warning systems, but also the fundamental science and research needed to monitor fault lines such as the Hayward Fault, which just had 2 small quakes in the past 3 weeks.
It hasn't had a big earthquake since 1868. So it's considered that this is the most likely big earthquake to occur in the Bay Area, and it's going to be a lot worse than Loma Prieta, even though it'll be about the same size. Loma Prieta was up in the mountains, pretty remote. Hayward is right in the middle of one of the most populated areas in the West Coast.
On this anniversary, San Francisco's Guadalupe Elementary School students took part in an emergency drill with Mayor Daniel Lurie, taking cover under desks. Officials gave a warning.
We are all in this together. Preparedness takes all of us. We want you to make a plan. We want you to be prepared.
A 3.1 earthquake happened yesterday morning in Berkeley. So it is not a matter of if, but when this earthquake's going to happen. Let's take this day today, when we think about what happened in 1989, to make a plan, to sit with your family and talk about what you will do in an earthquake.
And officials say one of the things they also hope you'll do is download the MyShakes app onto your smartphone. That will give you early warnings and also information that you need to know if there is an earthquake. Alex and Heather.
Yeah, on a day like this, I mean, it really is a sobering reminder for all of us to be prepared. All right, Jana, thank you.
Anti-ICE demonstrators returned to a processing facility outside of Chicago today to protest the Trump administration's mass deportation campaign. More than 100 protesters faced off with law enforcement in front of an ICE processing center in Broadview. Several people were arrested here, accused of taking part in protests outside of certain hours and designated zones. It was the first protest at the facility in almost a month. Yesterday, a federal judge ordered ICE agents in Chicago to wear and turn on their body cameras, citing concerns about clashes with protesters.
Knowing how Donald Trump's federal government has been acting, instead of just leaving and getting out of the way, they first engage in aggressive tactics.
When you look at the leaders of Illinois, particularly, J.D. Pritzker, he never even recognizes the fact that the federal law enforcement has an absolute right and a responsibility to enforce immigration law.
ICE insists its agents are following the law. Meantime, newly filed court documents reveal the ICE field director for Chicago is leaving his post today. He was due in court on Monday to address a judge's concerns about tear gas and other crowd control measures being used by ICE agents.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was at the White House today in hopes that the U.S. can help bring an end to the war in Ukraine.
President Trump hosted Zelensky today just a day after speaking with Russia's Vladimir Putin by phone. Fox's Mike Emanuel has more now from Washington.
It's an honor to be with a very strong leader.
President Trump looking to keep up the momentum from this week's hostage deal in Gaza, meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House. The two presidents are hoping they can bring an end to more than 3.5 years of fighting.
Putin is not ready, I think not ready, but I think that I'm confident that with your help, we can stop this war.
Mr. Trump spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin by phone on Thursday and said the two are planning to meet in person in Budapest, Hungary in the coming weeks. Trump is hoping to build upon their last summit in Alaska in August.
It began with Alaska, where I think certain guidelines were discussed, and we want to see if we can get this done.
Since that meeting, Russia has launched some of its largest aerial attacks of the war, violated the airspace of several countries, and shown no willingness to negotiate.
Putin has escalated the war against Ukraine, principally on civilians, and he expanded it in terms of military incursions into NATO countries.
If Putin won't come to the table, Zelensky is hoping long-range Tomahawk missiles from the U.S. will change his mind.
We're going to be talking about that. That's why we're here.
Sending Ukraine weapons that can potentially reach Moscow, that is scary to Putin.
Ahead of a second Trump-Putin summit, Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Russia's foreign minister are expected to meet next week in Budapest. In Washington, Mike Emanuel, Fox News.
Up next here on the 4 this afternoon, a unique sighting in the Bay Area. We are live with the local photographer who captured these stunning snapshots of an albino deer.
And the countdown, it is on for the American Cancer Society's annual Making Strides Against Breast Cancer event in San Francisco. So please come join me and hundreds of others in the fight for a cure. It is happening Sunday at our new location this year, Thrive City, right outside Chase Center. KTVU is once again proud to sponsor this fun and inspiring event that helps fund treatment and research towards a cure. We'll be walking, dancing, and celebrating. Again, all the fun starts Sunday morning at 8.
These stunning images of an albino deer were captured recently by a Bay Area photographer. Matthew Rafeman says he and his family were driving away following a hike when they spotted the fawn with the white coat. Rafeman took photos from a safe distance showing the albino deer along with its mother and 2 other fawns. Experts suggest that about 1 in every 30,000 deer is born with albinism. And for more, Matthew Rafeman joins us live this afternoon to talk more about this experience. Matthew, we appreciate the time. It's wonderful to have you on here. Obviously, this was an incredibly rare sighting for you. Take me through the experience. What did you think when you first saw this deer?
Well, thanks for having me. You know, it's pretty unusual, right? 1 in 30,000, so there may be about a dozen in the state of California. So I've certainly never seen one. And I was there with my wife and my 2 kids, and we were actually looking for tarantulas that day. And we didn't find any, but we were leaving the park, and we ended up coming upon this albino deer. And I was, we were stunned. And then my wife immediately said, "Get out of the car and go document it." So fortunately, we put off dinner, and I did my thing.
That's a good reason to put off dinner. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know that you noticed something about the dynamics here between this particular deer and its mother. You noticed that the mother seemed to be especially protective of the albino fawn. What did that look like for you?
Exactly, and you'll be able to see that as these images cycle through, particularly the one with the roadway there. There was a clear kind of tie between the mother and this particular deer. It had two other siblings that it was grazing with, but the mother was lingering and hanging out and really had eyes on me, which, it's important to follow from a safe distance, as you mentioned, and I'm using a telephoto lens, so I'm not physically disturbing them from a distance, but they're aware of my presence. And you could tell that was driving the mother to be a little bit more protective there of its deer. And there's a reason for that, right? I mean, they're unusual from a perspective of evolution because they're very obvious. And you can see that, how much they stick out against the Northern California landscape. I mean, it'd be very challenging to survive, I would imagine, with that kind of identification, because you'd be visible to any predator much more easily than your siblings would.
Yeah, which is why mom is keeping a close watch. So what has the response been like from people who have seen these photos since you shared them? I imagine people from around the world are reacting to these.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I've been through this before with another photo I took of a swan in Boston when I used to live there. And the outpouring of interest and connection is very similar. It's amazing how nature and the kind of natural wonder around us can bring people together. We can connect over it. We can take a moment out of our day to appreciate it. And I think people have that kind of they're kindred spirits in a sense when they're interested in nature and natural wonder. So folks are reaching out. People are sharing, just how special it is to see this and how grateful they are to share it with them. And I enjoy that, of course, as a photographer, because what drives me to take pictures ultimately is connecting with people, even though my subject is wildlife.
Yeah, and obviously, yeah, these photos have just resonated with people in a really special way. As you mentioned, you've been taking photos of wildlife and of nature for quite a long time. So, as you sit back and think about all of the pictures you've captured over the years, where do these shots rank among all the photos that you've captured in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, this is probably the rarest sighting of any animal that I've had. Given that 1 in 30,000 statistic there. But this is up there, right, in these kind of happenstance, what I would call locally wild experiences where you're not expecting it. And it's a very different and surprising and exciting experience when you come upon something like this, when you're not expecting it or when you're going out for it. A lot of the times when I'm out for wildlife photography, it's a day trip. I'm going to follow bobcats or puffins or foxes or something like that, but there's intention there. And I think what's special about this is just how unintentional it is. So it sticks out for me as a special memory for that reason.
Yeah, absolutely. A special memory for you and your family. Are your kids, were they old enough to kind of wrap their heads around how significant this moment was?
Yeah, I mean, I have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. So the 6-year-old, I think, was into it for a couple minutes, and then the dinner bell started to ring. But he was pretty excited to know that this was being featured and that people were talking